Piers Morgan. Piers Stefan Pughe-Morgan, née O'Meara, born 30 March 1965, is an English broadcaster, journalist, writer, and television personality. He began his Fleet Street career in 1988 at The Sun. In 1994, aged 29, he was appointed editor of the News of the World by Rupert Murdoch, which made him the youngest editor of a British national newspaper in more than half a century. From 1995, Morgan edited the Daily Mirror, but was sacked in 2004. He was the editorial director of First News during 2006 to 2007. As a television presenter, Morgan has previously hosted the ITV talk show Life Stories from 2009 to 2021, as well as the CNN chat show Piers Morgan Live from 2011 to 2014. Morgan also co-presented the ITV Breakfast program Good Morning Britain with Susanna Reid from 2015 to 2021, and was a judge on both America's Got Talent 2006-2011 and Britain's Got Talent 2007-2010. In 2008, he won the Celebrity Apprentice US, appearing with future US President Donald Trump. In September 2021, it was announced Morgan would join News Corp as a presenter on their new television channel TalkTV and as a columnist for The Sun and New York Post. Morgan will present Piers Morgan Uncensored weeknights from 25 April 2022. Morgan was the editor of the Daily Mirror during the period in which the paper was implicated in the phone hacking scandal. In 2011, Morgan denied having ever hacked a phone and stated that he had not, to my knowledge, published any story obtained from the hacking of a phone. The following year, he was criticized in the findings of the Leveson Inquiry by Chair Brian Leveson, who stated that comments made in Morgan's testimony about phone hacking were utterly unpersuasive, and that he was aware that it was taking place in the press as a whole and that he was sufficiently unembarrassed by what was criminal behaviour. Morgan's outspoken views and controversial comments on Good Morning Britain led Ofcom to adjudicate on multiple occasions. On 9 March 2021, Morgan left the program with immediate effect following his criticism of the Oprah with Meghan and Harry interview. Ofcom received over 57,000 complaints from viewers, including a complaint from Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Herself, Morgan was subsequently cleared of wrongdoing by Ofcom. Early life and education. Morgan was born Piers Stefan O'Meara on 30 March 1965 in Surrey, the son of Vincent Eamon O'Meara, an Irish dentist from County Offaly, and Gabrielle Georgina Sybil née Oliver, an Englishwoman who raised Morgan Catholic. With regard to his religious views, Morgan still identifies as a Catholic due to his mother's influence and believes in an afterlife, but does not go to confession, probably because it would take him too long. He has a brother, Jeremy, who is older than him by 2 years. A few months after his birth, the family moved to Newark, East Sussex. His father died when Morgan was 11 months old. His mother later married Glyn Pughe-Morgan, a Welsh pub landlord who later worked in the meat distribution business, and he took his stepfather's surname. He was educated at the independent Cumnor House Prep School between the ages of 7 and 13, then Chailey School, a comprehensive secondary school in Chailey, followed by Priory School, Lewes for sixth form. After 9 months at Lloyd's of London, Morgan studied journalism at Harlow College, joining the Surrey and South London newspaper group. Press career. At the Murdoch titles 1988-1995, Morgan began to work as a freelance at The Sun in 1988, at this point dropping his double-barreled name. He told Hunter Davies in December 1994 that he was personally recruited by Sun editor Kelvin. Although he was not a fan of pop music, he was considered skilled at self-publicity and became the column's main writer. I became the friend of the stars, a rampant egomaniac, pictured all the time with famous people: Madonna, Stallone, Bowie, Paul McCartney, hundreds of them. It was shameless, as they didn't know me from Adam, he told Davies. In January 1994, he became editor of the News of the World after being appointed to the job by Rupert Murdoch. Initially an acting editor, he was confirmed in the summer, becoming at 29 the youngest national newspaper editor in more than half a century. In this period, the newspaper led with a series of scoops for which Morgan credited a highly efficient news desk and publicist Max Clifford. Morgan left this post in 1995 shortly after publishing photographs of Catherine Victoria Lockwood, then wife of Charles, Earl Spencer, leaving an addictive disorders clinic in Surrey. This action ran against the editor's code of conduct, a misdemeanor for which the Press Complaints Commission upheld a complaint against Morgan. Murdoch was reported as having said that the boy went too far and publicly distanced himself from the story. Fearful of a privacy law action if he had not criticized one of his employees, Murdoch is said to have apologized to Morgan in private. The incident was reported to have contributed to Morgan's decision to leave for the Daily Mirror editorship. Morgan's autobiography The Insider states that he left the News of the World for the Mirror of his own choice. It asserts he was an admirer of former Conservative Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher for most of her period of office, making the appointment surprising as the Mirror is a Labour-supporting title. Daily Mirror editor, post-Mirror press activities. In partnership with Matthew Freud, he gained ownership in May 2005 of Press Gazette, a media trade publication together with its cash cow, the British Press Awards, in a deal worth £1 million. This ownership was cited as one of the reasons many major newspapers boycotted the 2006 awards. Press Gazette entered administrative receivership toward the end of 2006, before being sold to a trade buyer. First News was launched by Morgan on 4 May 2006. A weekly paper aimed at 7 to 14-year-olds. He said at its launch that the paper was to be Britain's first national newspaper for children. Morgan was editorial director at First News, responsible for bringing in celebrity involvement. He referred to the role as editorial overlord and frontman. In Morgan was filmed falling off a Segway, breaking 3 ribs. Simon Cowell outspokenly mocked Morgan's previous comment in 2003 in a Mirror headline after former U.S. President George W. Bush fell off a Segway. "You'd have to be an idiot to fall off, wouldn't you, Mr. President?" In 2012, following the revelation of Jimmy Savile's sexual abuse against children, Morgan said he had never met Savile in his lifetime, contradicting a 2009 piece he wrote in the Mail on Sunday's night and Day magazine, saying that as I left, Jimmy Savile came up to me. "Your TV shows are brilliant," he exclaimed. Television career. Morgan's career expanded into television presenting before he left the Daily Mirror. He presented a 3-part television documentary series for the BBC titled The Importance of Being Famous 2003, about fame and the manner in which celebrities are covered by modern media. At the annual Pride of Britain Awards broadcast on ITV, Morgan chaired a panel of prominent people who had chosen the recipients of the awards from 1999 to 2006. He co-hosted a current affairs interview show on Channel 4 with Amanda Platel, Morgan and Platel. Morgan and Platel were put together because of their opposing political viewpoints. Platel interrogated guests from the right wing, Morgan from the left wing. The show was dropped after 3 series reputedly because of poor viewing figures, although the chairman of Channel 4, Luke Johnson, was reported not to like the program. Throughout 2006, Morgan appeared as a judge on the television show America's Got Talent alongside Brandy Norwood and David Hasselhoff on NBC. Morgan was chosen by Simon Cowell as a replacement for himself because of the conditions of his American Idol contract. Morgan appeared as a celebrity contestant on Comic Relief Does the Apprentice in 2007 to raise money for the BBC charity telethon Comic Relief. After his team lost, Morgan was selected by Sir Alan Sugar as the contestant to be fired. In 2007, Morgan appeared as a judge for the 2nd season of America's Got Talent and also appeared as a judge on Britain's Got Talent on ITV with Amanda Holden and Simon Cowell. He also presented You Can't Fire Me, I'm Famous on BBC One. He fronted a three-part documentary about sandbanks for ITV entitled Piers Morgan on Sandbanks in January 2008. In 2008, Morgan signed a two-year golden handcuffs deal with ITV in May, reportedly worth £2 million per year. As part of the deal, he would continue as a judge on Britain's Got Talent for at least two more series and front a new chat show. He also made some interview specials, plus three more documentaries from various countries. Morgan's golden handcuffs deal was the first signing by ITV new director of television, Peter Fincham. In February 2009, he began a three-part series, Piers Morgan On, which saw him visit Dubai, Monte Carlo, and Hollywood. The program returned for a second series in 2010 when Morgan visited Las Vegas in one episode. In 2009, Morgan also began hosting Piers Morgan's Life Stories on ITV, with Sharon Osbourne as the subject of the first episode. Other guests on the program included Cheryl and the then Prime Minister Gordon Brown. On 17 January 2011, Morgan replaced Larry King in CNN evening lineup with his show, Piers Morgan Live. After poor ratings, the show was cancelled in February 2014 and ended its run in March 2014. Commenting on the viewing figures, Morgan said that he was a British guy debating American cultural issues, including guns, which has been very polarizing, and there is no doubt that there are many in the audience who are tired of me banging on about it. From 13 to 17 April 2015, Morgan guest hosted 5 episodes of Good Morning Britain on ITV, and he often clashed with Reid, who said of her colleague, "You can't help but go into battle with him every morning." Morgan left the series in March 2021 following a controversy over his remarks about Oprah with Meghan and Harry, which included a heated on-air argument with Alex Beresford. From 2016 to 2017, Morgan interviewed female murderers on the TV series Killer Women with Piers Morgan. He also presented Serial Killer with Piers Morgan as part of the 2017 Crime and Punishment season on ITV. In October 2018, Morgan appeared as a cameo on Hollyoaks. On 16 September 2021, News UK announced its new channel TalkTV would launch in 2022, with Morgan being the first name signed up. Donald Trump, Trump. Morgan was the winner of the U.S. celebrity version of The Apprentice in 2008. He was eventually the overall winner, being named Celebrity Apprentice by host Donald Trump. Morgan was called ruthless, arrogant, evil, and obnoxious by Trump in the final. Morgan stated he personally would not vote for Trump in the 2016 United States presidential election, though as a permanent resident of the United States, not a citizen, he is not qualified to vote. He predicted Trump's election as President of the United States and described himself as a close friend. Morgan interviewed Trump on Good Morning Britain in March 2016. Morgan appeared on ITV Loose Women panel show in late January 2017 and was challenged to repudiate Trump. He refused to do so, despite stating that he disagreed with him on many issues relating to gun control, climate change, abortion, and the Muslim travel ban, saying that he found the principle of the ban understandable, but disagreed with the way Trump has gone about it. Nearly a fortnight later, on the American talk show Real Time with Bill Maher, Morgan said there is no Muslim ban, as 85% of the world's Muslims are allowed in the country. Another participant in the discussion, Australian comedian Jim Jefferies, immediately swore at Morgan and criticized his defense of Trump. After the novelist J.K. Rowling tweeted, "Yes, watching Piers Morgan being told to fuck off on live TV is exactly as satisfying as I'd always imagined." The two began an exchange of words on the social media site. Morgan criticized Trump after Trump had retweeted Jada Franson, deputy leader of the small far-right fascist party Britain First, in late November 2017. He tweeted to Trump, "What the hell are you doing retweeting a bunch of unverified videos by Britain First, a bunch of disgustingly racist far-right extremists?" Please stop this madness and undo your retweets. In January 2018, Morgan presented President Trump the Piers Morgan interview for ITV, which many thought of as sycophantic and a love-in for Trump. Of respondents to a Radio Times Twitter poll, 88% viewed Morgan as being not tough enough on Trump. Morgan interviewed Trump again in July 2018 during his official visit to the UK, this time on Air Force One during an internal flight, in a TV special entitled Piers, the President and Air Force One. In December 2018, Morgan wrote a letter to Trump formally applying to become White House Chief of Staff. During Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom in June 2019, Morgan once again interviewed Trump, this time at the Churchill War Rooms. In April 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Morgan wrote a highly critical article of Trump's handling of the crisis in his column for Mail Online. Morgan particularly took issue with Trump's suggestion of looking into ingesting disinfectant as a possible solution, describing it as batshit crazy. In response to the criticism, Trump unfollowed Morgan on Twitter. In the aftermath of the 2021 storming of the United States Capitol, Morgan stated that Trump was mentally unfit to remain as president. He claimed that the pandemic and Trump's election loss that followed had sent him nuts. In response to whether he regretted his support of Trump, Morgan said, "No question. I never thought he was capable of this." Controversies. Ian Hislop. Morgan appeared as a guest on the BBC satirical news quiz Have I Got News for You in an episode transmitted on 24 May 1996. In it, show regular Ian Hislop accused Morgan of having him followed and having his house watched. The conflict escalated, and at one point the host, Angus Deaton, asked if they wished to go outside and have a fight. Later on, guest panelist Clive Anderson confronted Morgan, commenting, "The last time I was rude to you, you sent photographers to my doorstep the next day," to which Piers Morgan retorted, "You won't see them this time." The audience responded loudly in favor of Hislop. The Guardian reported on the state of the feud in 2002. "We're about to start exposing the moon-faced midget," Morgan was quoted as saying, to which Hislop responded, "All he's been offering for information about my private life is a £50 reward. My friends think that's not nearly enough." In 2007, Hislop chose Morgan as one of his pet hates on Room 101. In doing so, Hislop spoke of the history of animosity between himself and Morgan, and said that after their exchange on Have I Got News for You, which was shown as a clip, Morgan's reporters were tasked with trying to get gossip on Hislop's private life, including phoning acquaintances of Hislop, and photographers were sent in case Hislop did anything untoward or embarrassing while in their presence. Neither the reporters nor the photographers succeeded. Hislop also said that Morgan had attempted to quell the feud in an article in the Mail on Sunday, saying, "The war is over. I'm officially calling an end to hostilities, at least from my end. I'm sure it won't stop him carrying on his Piers Morgan stuff." Private Eye, the fortnightly satirical magazine that Hislop edits regularly. Hislop, who was working on a World War I documentary at the time, responded by asking, "Is that an armistice or an unconditional surrender?" Although Paul Merton, host of Room 101 at the time, and a good friend of Hislop, the pair, having captained the teams on Have I Got News for You since its inception, agreed to put Morgan into Room 101, he then comically rejected Morgan as being too toxic for Room 101. Phone hacking allegations. During Morgan's tenure as editor, the Daily Mirror was advised by Stephen Knott that voicemail interception was possible by means of a standard PIN code. Despite staff initially expressing enthusiasm for the story, it did not appear in the paper, although it did subsequently feature in a South Wales Argus article and on BBC Radio 5 Live in October 1999. On 18 July 2011, Knott was visited by officers of Operation Weeting. He came under criticism for his boasting about phone hacking from Conservative MP Louise Mensch, who has since apologized for these accusations. In July 2011, in a sequence of articles, political blogger Paul Staines alleged that while editor of the Daily Mirror in 2002, Morgan published a story concerning the affair of Sven-Göran Eriksson and Ulrika Jonsson while knowing it to have been obtained by phone hacking. On 20 December 2011, Morgan appeared as a witness by satellite link from the United States at the Leveson Inquiry. While he said he had no reason to believe that phone hacking had occurred at the Mirror while he was in charge there, he admitted to hearing a recording of an answer phone message left by Paul McCartney for Heather Mills, but refused. Appearing as a witness at the same inquiry on 9 February 2012, Mills was asked under oath if she had ever made a recording of McCartney's phone call or had played it to Morgan. She replied, "Never." She said that she had never authorized Morgan or anybody to access or listen to her voicemails. Mills told the inquiry that Morgan, a man that has written nothing but awful things about me for years, would have relished telling the inquiry if she had played a personal voicemail message to him. On 23 May 2012, Newsnight presenter Jeremy Paxman was a witness at the Leveson Inquiry. He recalled a lunch with the Mirror editor in September 2002 at which Morgan outlined the means of hacking into a mobile phone. On 28 November 2012, the Channel 4 documentary Taking on the Tabloids, fronted by actor and phone hacking victim Hugh Grant, showed footage from a 2003 interview with Morgan by the singer and phone hacking victim Charlotte Church, during which he explained to her how to avoid answer phone messages being listened to by journalists. He said, "You can access voicemails by typing in a number. Now, are you really telling me that journalists aren't going to do that?" On 29 November 2012, the official findings of the Leveson Inquiry were released, in which Lord Justice Leveson said that Morgan's testimony under oath on phone hacking was utterly unpersuasive. He stated, "The evidence does not establish that Morgan authorized the hacking of voicemails or that journalists employed by TMG Trinity Mirror Group were indulging in this practice. What it does, however, clearly prove is that he was aware that it was taking place in the press as a whole, and that he was sufficiently unembarrassed by what was criminal behavior that he was." On 24 September 2014, the Trinity Mirror Publishing Group admitted for the first time that some of its journalists had been involved in phone hacking and agreed to pay compensation to 4 people who sued for the alleged hacking of voicemails. 6 other phone hacking claims had already been settled. The BBC reported that it had seen legal papers showing that, although the alleged hacking could have taken place as early as 1998, the bulk of the alleged wrongdoing took place in the early 2000s when Morgan was the Daily Mirror editor. The admissions by Trinity Mirror came whilst the London Metropolitan Police investigation into the phone hacking allegations was ongoing. Morgan has always denied any involvement in the practice. Feuds and banned television guests. A feud between Morgan and A.A. Gill began when Morgan described Gill's partner Nicola Formby as a sex kitten on whom the mists of time had taken their toll and said she had shown him porn shots of herself. Gill said Morgan had made this up and called him a pretty objectionable self-publicist. In May 2011, Morgan banned actor Hugh Grant from his shows on CNN and ITV after Grant spoke out against the need for the tabloid press. On Twitter he responded, "Hugh Grant is now banned in perpetuity from At Piers Tonight and Life Stories and anything else I ever do, tedious little man." On 28 March 2012, MTV referred to the bad relations between Morgan and Madonna, reporting that Morgan has apparently felt slighted over the years by Madonna. He claims Morgan himself said, "Kelsey Grammer saw a photo of his ex-wife Camille in the open of our show and legged it." TV Guide reported, all plans were still a go for the segment until Grammer actually got in the hot seat and saw the footage the producers had planned to peg to the segment, including a picture of his ex-wife. On 26 September 2012, Fox 11 Los Angeles reported that many say it was an ambush by Piers. The Huffington Post reported that before the interview was scheduled, it was made clear that Grammer would answer all questions, including those about his ex-wife. His sole request was not to show any images of her. On 4 February 2014, Transgender advocate Janet Mock appeared as a guest on Piers Morgan Live to discuss her memoir, Redefining Real. After the interview aired, Mock sent a series of tweets criticizing Morgan for describing Mock as being formerly a man. Morgan responded that he had never been treated in such a disgraceful manner by a guest. On 5 February, Mock appeared as a guest again to debate the dispute. Morgan has repeatedly clashed with actor John Cleese. In 2015, Cleese stated that he truly detested Morgan and had avoided him in a restaurant. He also said he thought Morgan was in jail, erroneously stating that Morgan had admitted to authorizing phone hacking. Morgan responded that the revulsion between them was mutual. When Cleese's tweet about detesting Morgan became his most popular to date, Cleese said clearly, "I must insult the slimy, attention-seeking little pro more often." Morgan joked that he was glad to have been able to make Cleese popular again. In 2017, Cleese told Radio Times, "I always thought he was an awful creep. I just didn't want to have an encounter with him, and since then he's been after me and I've been after him." Morgan strongly objected to the Women's March on Washington on 21 January 2017, the day after Trump's inauguration, describing protesters. The actor Ewan McGregor disagreed with Morgan's statements on the Women's March and pulled out of appearing on Good Morning Britain the following Tuesday after discovering Morgan would be interviewing him, along with Reid. Morgan accused McGregor of being a pedophile-loving hypocrite for his past support of Roman Polanski. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Morgan was briefly a friend of Meghan Markle before she became the Duchess of Sussex, but claimed she cut him off early in her relationship with Prince Harry. He has been a regular critic of the couple since then, alleging they are hypocrites and claiming the Duchess is a social climber. When the couple stepped away from conducting official royal duties early in 2020, Morgan described them as being the two most spoiled brats in history. 10 days later, he said, "Only surprised it took her so long to get Harry to ditch his family. The monarchy, the military, and his country. What a piece of work." Responding to Morgan on Twitter, British comedian Gina Yasher wrote of the broadcaster's constant, racist vitriolic abuse disguised as criticism. Morgan responded that Yasher was being ridiculous, arguing that the critical responses to the Duchess has nothing to do with her skin color and everything to do with her being a shameless piece of work doing huge damage to our royal family. In a segment of Good Morning Britain on 13 January, Morgan interviewed Afua Hirsch, who accused parts of the British media of behaving in a racist manner towards the Duchess, an interpretation that Morgan said was completely and grotesquely wrong. Influencers, a group of 100 African Caribbean women, advocated an advertiser's boycott of Good Morning Britain. The campaigners described the program as having sanctioning bullying and blatant unapologetic disrespect of women in allowing Morgan's treatment of Hirsch. When challenged by Dick Aikenhead of the Sunday Times in May 2020 over his vendetta against the Duchess, with Aikenhead suggesting he had gone too far, Morgan said, "I think that's a perfectly fair criticism. It's probably not wise, if you're a columnist, to make things too personal. Have I taken things a bit too far? Probably. Do I think?" A tense on-air argument with his co-host Alex Beresford on 9 March led him to walk off the set of the show. Beresford was highly critical of Morgan's attitude towards the Duchess, saying she's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you after she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her. Later in the day, Morgan quit the program. The UK mental health charity Mind expressed disappointment in Morgan's comments and said individuals with experience of mental health issues should be treated with dignity, respect and empathy. ITV plc's chief executive, Carolyn McCall, defended the veracity of the Duchess's comments, adding importantly everyone should. ITV News reported the Duchess had complained directly to ITV CEO about Morgan's comments about mental health, although the broadcaster was not officially commenting on these reports. Ofcom received a complaint from her. Morgan issued a statement on Twitter, saying on Monday, I said I didn't believe Meghan Markle in her Oprah interview. I've had time to reflect on this opinion, and I still don't. Freedom of speech is a hill I'm happy to die on. Broadcaster Andrew Neil described his departure as a pity for ITV, because he had brought energy, dynamism, and controversy to its morning broadcast schedule, adding it had always lagged way behind. Neil expressed interest in Morgan joining GB News instead. However, Neil later said that talks were affected by a disagreement. He's Morgan got his own idea of what he is worth, and we GB News have a slightly different idea of what he's worth. In Morgan's last week, Good Morning Britain surpassed the ratings of BBC Breakfast for the first time, and ITV lost almost £200 in market value following his departure. Actor and comedian Steve Coogan, a prominent supporter of press regulation, described Morgan as symptomatic of the problem with the British tabloid media and accused him of bullying behaviour regarding his attitude to the Duchess. Ofcom Complaints. During his tenure at Good Morning Britain, Morgan was the subject of thousands of complaints to the British watchdog, Ofcom, relating to his comments. In 2015, Morgan was criticised by Ofcom for laughing as a guest repeatedly used the word fucking live on air. Although Ofcom did not take action, as his co-presenter Susanna Reid quickly apologized, the watchdog expressed concern at his behaviour. In 2016, Ofcom received 70 complaints in relation to comments made by Morgan during interview with Christian magistrate Richard Page about gay marriage that viewers felt implied Christians were homophobic. Ofcom confirmed on 13 April 2016 that Morgan would not be investigated for his comments. On 22 January 2018, during a story about a homeless SAS veteran who had a petition set up in his name calling on his local council to provide him with social housing, Morgan had refused to read out Hertfordshire Council's statement. This was judged by Ofcom to be unfair to the council. On 11 September 2019, Morgan claimed he identified himself as a two-spirit penguin in response to a news piece relating to gender neutrality, and said the world has gone nuts over gender. This attracted 950 Ofcom complaints from viewers. He was cleared of any wrongdoing in November 2019, and in response, Morgan admitted he was personally quite pleased with having one of the highest number of complaints to any British TV show in 2019. On 21 January 2020, Morgan was accused of racism and was hit by 1095 Ofcom complaints for his comments relating to a Chinese dairy advert in which he said he's using Ching Chong Ching milk. Morgan also spoke over the advert, saying Ching Chang Chojo. He was accused online of using language that is used to antagonize Chinese people and for mocking the Chinese language. On 9 March 2021, Ofcom launched an investigation into the remarks Morgan made about the Duchess of Sussex's mental health on Good Morning Britain after receiving 41,015 complaints. The regulator confirmed on 12 March that the Duchess of Sussex had complained as well. On 17 March, it was reported that complaints against Morgan had reached 57,000, breaking Ofcom's record. Morgan remained defiant, stating only 57,000. I've had more people than that come up and congratulate me in the street for what I said. The vast majority of Britons are right behind me. Ofcom cleared ITV of any wrongdoing in September 2021 and added, Morgan described the ruling as a resounding victory for free speech and a resounding defeat for Princess Pinocchio's personal life. Morgan married Marion Shallow, a hospital ward sister, in 1991. The couple had 3 sons, Albert, Spencer, and Stanley, and separated in 2004 before divorcing in 2008. In June 2010, he married his second wife, journalist Celia Walden, daughter of the former Conservative MP George Walden. On 25 November 2011, Walden gave birth to a daughter, Elise, her first child and Morgan's fourth. Morgan's primary residence is in Kensington, London. He splits his time between a base in Los Angeles, California, and a holiday home in Newark, East Sussex. Morgan is a fan of Premier League football club Arsenal. He was an outspoken critic of former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger and called for his sacking on many occasions. Speaking in defense of Wenger in 2015, former Arsenal goalkeeper Bob Wilson labeled Morgan an incredibly pompous individual. When Arsenal midfielder Aaron Ramsey met Morgan on 26 April 2015, Ramsey refused to shake his hand due to the criticism he received from Morgan during the 2012-13 season. Morgan has responded by calling Ramsey Watch's name. Politically, Morgan identified as a supporter of the Conservative Party in a 1994 interview, saying he was still basically a Tory, but expressed admiration for the new Labour Party leader Tony Blair, saying he's not radical, speaks well and makes sense. He voted for the Kensington Conservative candidate in the 2019 UK general election, after previously voting for the Animal Welfare Party. Morgan has also stated he has previously voted for the Labour Party. On 24 July 2021, Morgan said he had developed COVID-19 after the Euro 2020 final, despite being fully vaccinated. He added that a strong fever, violent coughing, chills and sneezing fits left him exhausted and fearing what might come next. Filmography. As himself,